All right. Shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off by saying Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahushai, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Bachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aqua that's listening in. Yahweh Ratazalo willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shawab Moam back at you with another lesson, going into the title FEMA Camps and Guillotines. All right. And I'm gonna play a video, but before I do, this is funny because I just went on the chat and I asked a simple question, and like in the last video, I was talking about how Esau just tends to play themselves out with lies all the time and exposes himself, right? I said, what was the point to make FEMA camps? That's it. That was the only thing I questioned. It says, if you mean FEMA camps in the United States, the idea is often misunderstood. It says FEMA does not have a general program of permanent camps designed to imprison Americans, but that's not what I asked. So they're already telling you, all right, what it's really pretty much for. It's to imprison, all right, Americans in it, okay? Because all I asked, what was the point to make FEMA camps? I just wanted to see what it would say. But instead it just goes, does not have a general program of permanent camps designed to imprison Americans. FEMA's emergency plans can involve temporary shelters, evacuation centers, temporary housing, and mass care facilities after disasters, right? But the thing is that why is the FEMA camps always being spoken of when there is no major disaster yet, right? But yet they're out there, yet they're already made. More are being made on a daily basis. Immigrants that are being taken hostage by ICE are being sent to a lot of these FEMA camps, whether they be here in the States or whether they be out of the country. All right. They already are in full effect. You see, it says the basic purposes are disaster shelter, housing people displaced by hurricanes, floods, fires, and earthquakes, etc. Right. So why do they want to imprison Americans in it, all right, that are immigrants? Why do they want to use them to imprison Americans that are against, all right, the society? Okay. Oh, damn, I just thought about that, man. I have a article that I've always kept. Oh, man, I don't think I have it anymore. Because this is a new phone, so I lost everything on that other phone. Hold on real quick. Let me see if I still got it. Give me 1 second. This is actually important because if I don't, I'll be upset. Because I've had it for so many years now. Give me 1 second. It should be in my WhatsApp. Everything from WhatsApp. Where's that at? Damn, that sucks. I literally had it. Man, I don't even got it anymore. That's wild. I just thought about that randomly doing this video because I was actually about to pull it out and use it, but I forgot I got a brand new phone and I lost all the things that I had in the other phone. Like completely lost it. Let me just make sure I'm looking through my pictures right now. WhatsApp images, maybe here. Yeah, I did lose them all. Wow, that sucks. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Before I continue, let me go into my WhatsApp. If I do remember, it's under somebody's page I sent it to. Might have been this brother right here. All right, I'm not gonna spend too much time looking for it. It's all right. It's in one of these brothers' pay numbers that I saw. Oh, here it is. Oh, call Elohim La Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Let me save this right now so I don't have to. All right. I don't have to save it. I know it's here. I'll do that later, but I know it's here. All right. So going back to what I was saying. All right. Just fucking hold on real quick. There you go. Um, these FEMA camps are pretty much being used everywhere around the United States, for certain things nowadays, right? But we know ultimately they're going to be used to imprison, all right, the Americans permanently, all right, when the time comes of martial law, when the time comes of these devils, uh, coming to take our people hostage. Okay. So basically, we're saying the basic purposes are disaster shelter, right? Evacuation, providing places for people to go where an area becomes unsafe, right? Temporary housing, trailers, hotels, shelters, or other accommodations while homes are repaired. All right. But see, when you think about it, why would you put people in places like that? All right. So uh, in a large amount of people, large mass population, right? Little ass beds, okay, barely any food, any water, right? It says emergency services, food, water, medical assistance, sanitation, and reunification of families, right? It says large scale emergencies preparing for situations where normal local resources are overwhelmed. It says there have been historical U.S. emergency plans and facilities that people have called FEMA camps, which has fueled a lot of conspiracy theories. But the existence of the emergency facilities or contingency plans doesn't by itself establish a plan to round up or imprison the population. If you want, I can also explain where the FEMA camps idea came from and what the actual government document says about them. Yes, let me see what it says. All right. It says, damn, a lot came up. Says, yes, there's an important distinction between real emergency planning and later FEMA camps narrative, right? It says where the idea came from. FEMA really does plan for large scale emergencies. FEMA's current emergency framework includes evacuation shelters, short term shelters, long term shelters, temporary housing, food, water, sanitation, and other services for people displaced by disasters. And one thing you got to ask is, all right, so let's just say that's what it's for, right? It's for an emergency. How would you be able to detain thousands upon thousands of people and be able, as a matter of fact, let's just say past thousands. Let's just say there's a disaster here in the United States where you talking about, what is there, like 4.5 billion people here in America. So you mean to tell me you have enough FEMA camps to basically provide for 4.5 million people? You see? And then you know the answer is no, even though they're building more and more and more. All right. But here it is, they have them anyway. Okay. And what do they do with them? They detain people. And whenever they detain people, you hear stories, all right, of how people are treated in these places like shit. They say they claim they have food and water, but they're not getting fed and they're not drinking. Right? You hear about women being, ravished in places like this. You hear about people going missing. Here it is. You're supposed to unify and bring together, unite families, but families are more separated than ever when you have these camps, man. Okay. It says they really want there really was a controversial 1980s plan called RX-84, right? Readiness Exercise 1984 was a government contingency exercise involving FEMA and the military. All right, and that's more sounds like what's going to happen in these days, right? Documents associated with it included scenarios involving emergency powers and detention of people considered national security threats. See, that's That's the key right there, right? All right. It says detention of people. All right. When you go into the detention of people, what's the word etymology on detention? All right. Detention goes into keep or restrain, act of keeping back or withholding, right? It says hold back, keep off. It says restraint state of being detained, confinement. What you think? What do you think when you hear that? Solitary confinement. When you go to jail and you get sent to solitary confinement, you're being locked up in a place all by yourself, right? It says in reference to keeping in as a school punishment. That's exactly what I was going to go to. When I think of detention, I think of school. What do? They put it for people that are bad, right? So in today's society, right, you have people that are going to be considered as criminals for not worshiping the New World Order or not complying with it, right? Or basically applying to their ways, you see? Because that's what it's really for. They'll tell you that it's for people that are criminals and things like that, but we got jail systems for that, right? A jail system, a penitentiary is separate from an actual FEMA camp, you see? And when you even think further of FEMA camps, back in the times of the so-called Holocaust, right? People were being thrown into FEMA camps and they were being what? Tortured, burned, all of that, right? So they say, okay? So the same thing is going to be done in places and in places out here in America that are FEMA camps. And how do we know that? As a matter of fact, now I can go into what I wanted to grab from the WhatsApp, right? Let me go back into that real quick. So this is what it tells you. I got this from the brother, the beloved brother out there in Mississippi, the brother Kasak. He brought it out. This was a lesson I seen years ago. And when I watched that video, I screenshotted what he was showing and always kept it. So like, hold on. I think I passed that shit. And it was very interesting because these are the things that we talk about all the time, right? So it says, final warning. It says, do not be taken alive to the boxcars and FEMA camps. It says, final warning to my fellow Americans. As evidence of martial law declaration approaches, I am repeatedly publishing the sobering alert to my fellow Americans, to my fellow Christians and fellow American patriots. Martial law is inevitable at this time. And in fact, we see the clear signs of the beginning of NWO takeover. I believe it says ever now. It says, as foreign troops flood our nation everywhere, right? It says, oh, that's probably what it says, of the beginning of the NWO takeover everywhere now, as foreign troops flood our nation everywhere. It says, I have explained for 18 years now the horrors that innocent men and women and children will face both in the FEMA prisoner boxcars and the FEMA camps, also known as FEMA DHS, right? It says, I tell you, one second. It says, I tell you, it will be brutal, ravish. All right. The word there is RAPE, right? It says torture and death once they start arresting the Christians, all right, which the true Christians, all right, are the followers of Yahushua Hamashiach, all right? The ones that follow Hamashiach. Those are what the true Christians. All right, forget about these Christians that you see here in Christianity. Every single one of them are completely bugged out, right? But they're really going to come after the men of the Lord, the men, women, and children that are believers, right? It says, I have explained for 18 years now the horrors that the innocent men, women, and children will face in both the FEMA prisoner boxcars and the FEMA camps. I tell you, it will be brutal, grape, torture, and death once they start arresting the Christians and all other NWO resistance under martial law. The horrors of the camps include human experimentation, body organ harvesting, satanic human sacrifice, torture, and mind control, and more. It says, remember, the NWO is Lucifer's kingdom on earth, and the Bible declares that the final end of Lucifer's NWO is utter destruction at the hands of an angry power, Yahweh, and his elect, who shall rule the nations with a rod of iron. All right. So the point is that in these camps, all right, they're going to bring brutal raping. All right. They're going to bring torture, death. Okay. They're going to bring organ harvesting. You see, these are things that they're going to be doing. Human sacrifices for satanic rituals. That's what was the FEMA camps were created for. All right. Remember, FEMA camps are separate from penitentiaries, man. All right. Penitentiaries, our people are locked up in penitentiaries, but they're able to still do a lot of things within the inside. In these FEMA camps, they ain't got TVs and they ain't got rewards when you do good. You don't get off early, man. You're talking about just a bed and probably, you know, barely something to drink and something to eat. It's really just to detain you there and keep you there and pretty much torture your life by not getting the things that you want the most, you know? And then if these devils are going to do the extra stuff, all right, which they will, because that's what they're going to try to do to change your mind to turn to the NWO and bow down to the system, all right? They want to take those that are resistance to the NWO, you see? So if you're resisting the NWO, well, then the FEMA camp is for you. And we've spoken about how they got colors that are supposed to be on mailboxes, right? You got a yellow, a blue, a red, a black sticker, all right? And they all mean different things, you know? I don't remember exactly what they are, but, you know, let's just take, for example, black is the ones that are the men of the Lord, and they're going to be yanked at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, right? Those that are yellow are people that are spokespersons, probably have podcasts and always speaking against the government. Well, those will be yanked out at 2 in the morning, right? I'm just giving you examples of how it will work. All right. Blues will be the ones that they don't know what's going on, but they'll throw you in the camp and teach you their ways and try to reteach your mind to bow down to the system, and eventually you will. You see? So these things really exist, man. Okay. And throughout the web, if you look up FEMA camps and shit like that, you know, you'll find that that they have them all over down south, a lot of them, you know, Georgia, Mississippi, the Carolinas, you know, where there's a lot of farms and acres of land. They have these detention centers, man, and people have recorded, you know, FEMA camp coffins that could fit 4 or 5 bodies in at once, you know, that are made out of a certain type of material to be able to decompose your bodies. You see, what do you think all that shit is there for, man? If FEMA was to be there for your help, right, why would they have to have these disposed coffins to be able to fit 4 or 5 people in them, man? That already is a sign and a red flag telling you, you know, what can happen out here in these camps, man. You see? Shalom, sister, yo, Buster, man, shot brought down the brother too, right? So, continuing on, right? Let's go back. So this is what's going to happen in those camps, all right? And I was in the word etymology online of detention, okay? Let me see. Let me read the rest of it. To detain means to keep back or away, withhold, to keep off, keep back. Let me see. To hold in custody. You see, it's just like prison, all right, but worse. Okay. To contain, retain. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much what is repeating itself. All right. So let me see the other part I had. Going back to the chat that I had. Hold on, now I gotta go back. Oh, I didn't save it, you freak. I don't think I saved it. No, I didn't save it. Shit. Oh man, that's annoying. Let me see if I can put it again. What's the purpose of FEMA camps? Let's see if it says the same shit. Now the whole shit changed. This time it says it's often used online to describe a supposed network of detention camps that FEMA could use during a national emergency. However, there is no evidence that FEMA operates a secret nationwide system of camps intended to imprison Americans. All right. It said kind of the same thing, but a little bit different, right? Then it says, if you are asking because you've seen claims about FEMA camps being built for martial law or mass detention, I could break down where that claim came from. Yeah, let's do that. All right, let's see what they say. And then I'll play the video that I got. Yeah, this is what it was saying. A major source is Rex 84, which we read that, right? Basically, it's a large scale emergencies, you know, possibly to detain people considered as national security threats. And that's why it's going to be men of the Lord, because we're going to be considered as a national security threat. We're going to be a threat to society. They're pretty much already saying that shit now. You know, they said that there's Trump says that there's an enemy within. All right. And who is the enemy within? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And ultimately, they're talking about the elect. Okay. Because remember, when we go back to reading what we was just reading in those FEMA camp papers, right? It said, where did it say that? It said, hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, it says right here, it says, remember the NWO is Lucifer's kingdom on earth, and the Bible declares that the final end of Lucifer's NWO is utter destruction at the hands of an angry God and his elect. You see? So that's who the enemy within is. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai and his elect. All right? And that's what they've been getting into people's mind little by little, that there's an enemy within, until they come and they put us on the news one day. They post us all over on most wanted pictures and shit, you see? Then they're going to know who's the enemy, according to them, right? So it says, however, that doesn't establish the FEMA currently operates hundreds of secret prison camps, claims that there are 800 plus fully staffed FEMA prisons waiting for Americans have been investigated and found unsupportive. FEMA, so if it's unsupportive, right, and it's found to be nothing, then how the fuck do you know that there's 800 fucking camps? You see? Because there was claims that there were 800 plus. All right, and that's best believe there are. Absolutely there is. All right, it says FEMA has also denied operating such camps. What FEMA actually uses facilities for. It says FEMA's documented sheltering program is for people displaced by disaster. Same shit being said. All right. Why people connect RX-84 to FEMA. It says this is where things get complicated. FEMA participated in emergency planning exercises and has responsibilities involving continuity and disaster response. Some historical contingency plans contemplated extraordinary government actions during a severe national emergency, but a contingency plan or exercise isn't the same thing as an active program of detention camps, right? It says there's a separate military plan called also a separate military plan called Garden Plot concerning military assistance during domestic civil disturbances. You see? So here you go. This is how it tells on itself. It says it's not used to imprison any people, but they have what you call, what did it say? A garden plot concerning military assistance during domestic civil disturbances. Are we not about to enter into civil war? Are we not about to have a civil disturbance when there is sedition among men? Did they not just drop an insurrection act where your own people, your own soldiers can pretty much detain you Americans however they want and take you to these camps? You see? So they're trying to, this is how Esau plays with his words. He tells you they're not for them, but he'll throw it in the mix just in case that shit happens. But we know that there's no just in case that shit happens. We know that shit's gonna happen. You see? So these FEMA camps that are around the world, all right, and around here in Babylon the Great, there's 800 plus of them, and they're all gonna be used exactly for that, man. Okay? For civil disturbances. FEMA later explained that it did not have a direct role in Garden Plot. Its involvement was related to coordinating disaster relief operations when emergencies and law enforcement operations occur simultaneously. See, and that's what they come down to. They'll always keep going back to it's just for disaster relief operations. You see, it's just for emergencies that people have. You know, if something big happens that's you know, concerned with storms and shit like that. You see, Esau slick how he says his words, man. It says bottom line, it says real government emergency plans and exercises that existed that contemplated extraordinary measures, including detention scenarios, not established. That FEMA currently has a nationwide network of secret concentration camps ready to imprison ordinary Americans. Documented FEMA purpose: disaster relief, sheltering, temporary housing, food, supplies, recovery assistance, and coordination during emergencies. You see, here's the same thing it always relates back to. So the bottom line, if something real happens with the government emergency plans, well, then they have to detain, you know, thousands and thousands upon people because they're a threat to society based off of civil, all right, civil, what did they say? Civil disturbances. Okay. Now let me see this Garden Plot. Search Garden Plot. Oh, I'm interested in that. Operation Garden Plot. The department, let me screenshot this shit. It says the Department of Defense Civil Disturbances Plan, also known by its cryptium Garden Plot, was a general U.S. Army and National Guard plan to respond to major domestic civil disturbances within the United States. And that's what that whole that shit they signed off on insurrection acts, all right, is about, right? They're able to a civil disturbance will be protest, uproars of the people. You see, that's coming here in America. That's already pretty much here. You see people all the time standing up against their government. You see people protesting against their government. You see, so they're just waiting for it to be the worst protest ever for them to usher in that exact call. You see, it says the plan was developed in the response to the civil disorders of 1960s. And what was that about? You think about it. Who was involved, all right, with the civil disorders of the 1960s? The so-called blacks, Hispanics. You see? So really it's just used for our people. Because it wasn't no fucking whites that were being a civil disorder. All right, in the 1960s, man. In the 1960s, you talk about segregation, man. You talk about when there was Black Panthers and Brown Berets, you see? And that was our people that were standing up against their government, all right, against their people. I mean, against these people, these whites, all right, to stand up for their freedom, all right? And that's scriptural because it talks about that in where am I thinking? Ezekiel the 37th chapter. All right. I'll just read it real quick. It doesn't say the exact words how I'm putting it, but when you go into there was no breath in them. Yeah. Right? So let's take it from 4. It says, again, he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Who the dry bones? The people that are in America, right? that have wandered out of the way of understanding that remain in the congregation of the dead. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. So I prophesied as I commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. So that means that our people in the 60s, right? Because that's when you had Abba Bivens out there in them highways and hedges and preaching his word, man, right? Late 60s, all right? But nevertheless, it was in the 60s, and he knew a little bit before that, you see? But see, people were starting to wake up to who their enemy was. They were starting to wake up to who the white man was, but they were getting put with the flesh and the sinews, but it said they had no breath in them. Why? Because they didn't have the full understanding of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. You see? So when you go into that, right, back where we was just at, right, it says the plan was developed in response to the civil disorders of the 1960s. All right. Yeah. And that's why there was civil disorders, because our people was coming together. Right. They were waking up to who the devil was, but them themselves didn't even know that they were brothers and sisters completely yet. They didn't know the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. They didn't have the knowledge of the Lord. Because if they did, then they would have realized that the devil, that there was finally realizing who the devil was, they would have realized he was Esau, right? The Black Panthers and the Brown Berets wouldn't be fighting, but they would come together and understand, all right, that they were, you know, brothers and sisters, you see? So let's go back, right? It says the plan was developed in response to the civil disorders of the 1960s and fell under the control of the U.S. Northern Command. It provided federal military and law enforcement assistance to local governments during times of major civil disturbances. The Garden Plot plan, drafted after the Watts, Newark, and Detroit riots, captures the criminous times when the document was drawn up. The plot was against racial unrest as well as anti-draft and anti-Vietnam elements. And what you think? That's not going to happen today? We're in the same type of shit right now. History repeats itself. Racial unrest, right? We're still in those times, man, right? Anti-draft, when the draft comes in fucking 4 months, this is what people going to do. It's going to be civil disturbances again. So they're going to have to use these FEMA camps. Okay, you don't want to go to war? Well, we got to send you to a FEMA camp, you see? And anti-Vietnam. And then instead of being anti-Vietnam, it's just going to be I don't want to fight Iran. I don't want to fight against none of these other countries, right? So it says the Pentagon activated Garden Plot to restore order during the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Garden Plot was superseded by U.S. Northcom Concept Plan 2502 following the September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States. All right. And are we not about to enter into another scenario of 9/11 that's being orchestrated right now? Is going to be a false flag. Yeah, absolutely. You see? It says code ICD 9E 9078 bill makes execution legal under Obamacare bill. Look at that, by guillotine. Yeah, and that's what I'm about to bring out in this video right now. All right. And that's all in what? And it's all in these where do you think they got these guillotines stored, man? They got these guillotines, all right, stored in these FEMA camps. All right. So let me grab this video real quick. Shit. Hold on, I gotta get to it right now. Hold on. So basically, this is a combination of two videos into one. It was one video, but I guess it's like they're talking about both things. It says, why are FEMA camps and guillotines on American soil? Oh, shit, I got to read that. All right, so let me read that real quick. In Fairbanks, Alaska. Give me 1 second. Let me open this up for y'all. So it says, let me open this shit up. Oh, shit. Bullshit. It says, I'm trying to read it. It says daily, it says the plan. Harry Kissinger, it says on the establishment of the New World Order, it says daily Americans would be outraged if UN troops and all right, hold on. Let me take a fucking picture of this shit. Hold on. It's too small, so I got to take a screenshot and open it up. It won't let me open it up. All right. And if you look at the FEMA, come on, doing too much right now. All right, so it says, all right, there you go. It says today Americans would be outraged if UN troops enter Los Angeles to restore order. Yeah, of course, because they're not even our troops, right? It says tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will pledge with the world leaders to deliver them from this evil. All right, and this says to the Bilderberg meeting at Evian, France, May 21st, 1992. All right, so now let's hear what the hell the video got to say. And if you look at the FEMA camps in Fairbanks, Alaska, it can hold up to 2 million people. That's a lot of people. Yo, that shit crazy. So now it makes you think what Alaska's been used for this whole time. There ain't people out there in Alaska. The population of Alaska is probably like fucking 20,000 people. That's it. Matter of fact, let me see. What's the population of Alaska?
Alaska's
not even
is estimated at 737,270 residents.
Not even not
city has
not even
9,000 residents.
Look, not even 1 million people, right? So this whole time, what they've been doing in Alaska is building camps to be able to hold 2 million people, man. That's wild. Right? And in these FEMA camps, you have guillotines. It's not a lie. There's a law that was passed in Georgia in 1995, which mentioned that guillotines are on American soil.
30,000 of them.
At least 30,000.
That was back then. How much
was back then?
The year 2020.
So we're talking about 25 years ago. So this is what, and why this martial law? Well, that's because look at what's going on in the United States. There's so much chaos in the major cities. We saw what happened in Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, and other cities as well. You had I believe the National Guard that was brought in. It's just a test. It's a foretaste of what's going to happen, regardless of who the president will be in November. Who's going to be elected?
The most wicked one
would it be Trump or Biden? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. They'll have martial law. You'll have FEMA camps, and then Sunday laws will come. That will be the mark of the beast. And speaking of guillotines, if you think this is not real, listen to this. Another Democrat, volunteer by the name of Chris Jacobs, was caught by Project Veritas and their leader, James O'Keefe, a brilliant man who catches people in their words. And Chris Jacobs said that he supports guillotines. Chris Jacks?
Is that seat taken? How you doing? This is you on hidden camera talking about the need to change the country with violence. It's going to take a strategic hit against the 2020 is the political revolution. I am going to do everything morally acceptable to win. You guys are amazing. You guys are truly unbelievable. Can I quote you? You asked me a question. What would it take? I will lie, I will cheat, I will steal, because that's morally acceptable in this political environment. Why do you think that's morally acceptable in this environment, to lie, cheat, and steal? I am a member of the Democratic Party. What positions are those?
That's a simple math, because the scriptures say that the thief come not but to steal and to kill, and that's talking about Esau. That's his natural nature, as it tells you in Proverbs, the 4th chapter, right? That they drink the wine of violence. You see, right? When you go to Habakkuk, it says that his desire is as hell and as death. You see, so this nigga is known for bringing death to the world, bringing hell to the world. You see, his mentality is all about doing something wicked every single time, man.
I'd rather not get into it because it has nothing to do with what I'm trying to say. Is yes, I will lie to people who lie to us. I will cheat people who cheat us.
How do you cheat? What type of cheating are we going to be doing in this election?
I can't answer that question. What is your name?
My name is James O'Keefe.
I've heard of your name.
I'm quoting you here. And I'm on tape.
To you. You're absolutely right. That's all I got to say. Option A, what I'm proposing. Option 2, slicing away.
Why the obsession with guillotines?
It is a readily known symbol for anybody who has been in any sort of political and revolutionary attack.
We didn't put these words.
You're right. You asked the question.
We have the tape. We have the questions. We'll play it. So,
and I stand by everything that I said.
Do you work for McCorkle?
No, I don't work for anybody. I'm a volunteer.
All right.
What's your position?
No problem. Who on earth?
So it just goes to show you that these devils want bloodshed to fix everything here in Babylon the Great. See, that's why the scriptures say, right? Let's grab that real quick. This is Revelations 12:12, and the brother just put another earthquake in New Zealand, man. See, them birth pangs ain't playing. As we continue to make these videos, birth pangs are happening at the same time. Revelations 12:12, and it reads, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devils come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he has but a short time." You see? So terror will come on the earth, man, because the devil's coming down to you with great anger. All right, knowing that he has but a short time. You see?
Right frame of mind would support guillotines to kill people.
It's coming.
He's the chair of our revolution in Weld County, Colorado. So he's advocating a revolution, he's advocating guillotines. What happened in France in the late 1790s, it's coming to the United States.
Absolutely.
We already had the guillotines. Look, it's not fear-mongering. Check the law that was passed by the Georgia.
Look at this shit. This just says,
legislature in 1990.
this says, Georgia House of Representatives, 1995-1996 sessions, HB 1274, death penalty guillotine provisions. It says a bill to be entitled enact, right? It says to amend Article 2 of Chapter 10 of Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia. Hold on, this is so small. Georgia annoyed. I believe it. Hold on. Damn, I gotta fucking screenshot this shit. Here we go again. Hold on. All right, so it says annotated, right? It says relating to the death penalty 1-3. It says generally so as to provide a statement of legislative. -4, policy to provide for death by guillotine. To provide for, it says applicability to repeal, where I can't see that shit. Oh, conflicting, Salakia, to repeal conflicting laws and for other purposes. All right, then it says section 1, and it says 1-8, it says the General Assembly finds that while prisoners condemned to death may wish to donate one or more of their organs for transplant. Hey, see, that goes with the paper I was just reading. All right, from my WhatsApp, man. There's going to be satanic rituals. There's going to be organ harvesting there. You see, it says any such desire is thwarted by the fact that electrocution makes all such organs unsuitable for transplant. It says the intent of the General Assembly in enacting this legislation is to provide for a method of execution which is compatible with the donation of organs by a condemned prisoner. You see, shit is crazy as hell, man. All right, so let's go back. I knew that shit was gonna happen.
Of our revolution in Weld County, Colorado. So he's advocating a revolution, he's advocating guillotines. What happened in France in the late 1790s, it's coming to the United States. They already had the guillotines. Look, it's not fear-mongering. Check the law that was passed by the Georgia legislator in 1995. We need to get ready. We need to obey God in everything.
It says
of our revolution in Weld County, Colorado. So he's asking. We need to obey God in everything.
Said U.S. government purchases 30,000 guillotines.
And the U.S. government has recently purchased 30,000 guillotines. Yes, you see it right there. Now, this was lobbied for by Congress, and it passed. You have to ask yourself if all the beheadings of the Muslims that they're pulling off, or the Muslims beheading people all across the place, if this isn't to try to desensitize the U.S. for future events. Because as the information comes out, it looks like 15,000 are being currently stored in Georgia, and 15,000 currently stored in Montana.
And when you go deep into it, under President Obama, he had purchased more, I believe. And they were splitting it out throughout all the states, and it was like 600 per state, something like that. That was the number. All right, so they're in every state, believe it or not. There's FEMA camps in every state. Some states got more because there's more acres of land. There's more desert lands, more farmlands in certain places. So they're able to, put more, FEMA camps out there. Not only that, scriptures talk about how there was a big earthquake in the 10th part of the city had fell. All right. And when you go into how FEMA is going to pretty much divide America, it's going to be divided into 10 parts. All right. Image of 10 parts of FEMA in America.
FEMA.
All right. Which is like this, just like you see in this picture right here. All right. You have America's going to be divided into 10 parts. All right. Of FEMA. Depending where you are is where you're going to go. All right. You in the tri-state area, you're going to end up in Jersey, New York, around there. All right. Or you might end up around Philly. All right. Where Philly's connected to Washington. All right. Then you got the number one is by Boston, Maine, all them places all the way at the top of there. Right. Chicago is considered as 5, which is basically Chicago. You got Michigan around there. All right. Then you got 4 is where Atlanta, okay, the Carolinas. So you got Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi. That's one of the biggest ones. That one, California one, and the one that's in actually there's 4 of them that's big. Number 4, which is where where Florida is. Then you got where Texas is. That one's got a bunch of states connected to it. Then you got California is a big one, and then you have 8, which is where like I'm assuming that's where like Idaho is and shit like that. You know, shit is big as hell, man. All right, so this is no joke. All right, like the guy said in the video, we're not fear mongering, neither are we. All right, but what we are telling you is to fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah before you end up on the one underneath one of those. Right. As a matter of fact, the brother put up. I just seen it. Oh, here we go. Revelations 2:20-4. It says, "And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, the judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shah and for the word of Yahweh, and which had not worshipped the image, had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Yahweh Shai 1,000 years." Okay, yeah, because that's what's going to happen. The ones that they're going to make the kingdom, and we're going to reign with Yahweh Shai 1,000 years in the kingdom. All right, but you know, John has saw the vision of, you know, souls that were beheaded, man. So that shows you that some of us are going to be beheaded here in Babylon the Great for a testimony of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah, man, to show you this truth is real. All right, let's grab, this is Revelations 2:10, and it reads, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." Yeah. So if we end up in one of these FEMA camps, right, and if it means death, right, scripture says strive for the truth until death if it has to be. All right. So if we end up in a FEMA camp and we have to be beheaded, all right, for a testimony of Yahweh Shai, well then, hey, take it cheerfully. Is it easier said than done? Is it something that's still going to be scary? Absolutely. But we, as men of understanding, understand that, you know, a beheading is a crown of life, man. You see, we're going to be able to be crowned, all right, in the kingdom for that. You know, that's the reward for that, man. All right. And their agenda is to try to torture, all right, our people, man, as it tells you in Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter, right, that he wants to bring a shameful death upon us, and he wants to basically tempt the Heavenly Father, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to tempt the Heavenly Father to see and test if we are truly of the elect, man. All right, Wisdom of Solomon 2, and let's take it from 10. And it reads, it says, "Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth." Yeah. And that's how they're going to be able to put us in these prisons. All right. Because we're not going to follow their law. We're not going to follow their ways. So if you don't comply with them, well, then you're going to end up in a prison. You see, let's drop down. All right. 17. "Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen to them in the end of him. For if the just man be the son of Yahweh, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies." And this is what this devil's doing. This is him, you know, tempting the Heavenly Father. "Let us examine him with the despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them. As for the mysteries of Yahweh, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned the reward for the blameless souls. For Yahweh created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his own eternity." Yeah, that's what they don't account for. You see, that even though we're dying, all right, as a matter of fact, the next chapter says it, right? It says, It says, in the sight of men, verse 2, in the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery, and they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace. For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality, and having been a little chastised, they have been greatly rewarded. For Yahweh proved them and found them worthy for himself, as gold in the furnace has he tried them and received them as a burnt offering. You see, and that's what it is. It's us being received as a burnt offering, right? The Lord said, make our bodies a living sacrifice. So if we have to be beheaded, that's us making our bodies a living sacrifice, man. And it seems to men that we're being taken from misery, but we're actually in peace. Why? Because we understand that we're going to have a crown of life. We understand that the Lord going to raise us back up, and then we're going to put a foot in your ass. You see? So that can't happen to them. You see? That's why they have made account. They have not made account of our labors, man. You know? They thought we was just talking nonsense. And the Lord said, right? If he stealeth a man, right, and he be found with him in his hand, that he shall surely be put to death. And that's what's going to happen when Yahweh shall return. He's going to be found with us in his hand. So you have to be put to death. We're really not being put to death. Our body is being taken away, being beheaded, but our soul returns back to the Heavenly Father, man. We're going to live for eternity forever. You, nigga, you going to die for the rest of your days. See? That's what Esau hates, that he's not going to be able to live eternally. You see, we will. Right? So, going back to Wisdom of Solomon 2, and let's read that last part. It says, such things they did imagine and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them. As for the mysteries of Yahweh, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned the reward for blameless souls. For Yahweh created man to be immortal and made him in the image of his own eternity. Yup, and that's why we're going to live forever. You see? Nevertheless, through the envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. You see? Let's grab Luke 21. Luke 21. 1 second. Luke 21, and let's take it from 12. It says, but before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. See, so the beheading is going to be turned on to us as a testimony. Settle it, therefore, in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Yeah, that's why we have to be keeping our head on a swivel, because there's no one we can trust. Not our family, not our own friends, people you know. You see, all of them are going to turn against us. Whoever is not of the elect is an enemy. Whoever is not of the elect is going to turn against you and play you out, man. You see, they're going to give you up, all right, to Esau, plain and simple. You see, so that's why, as the scriptures say, who are my brethren, who are my sister, who is my mother, those that do the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? So, continuing on, it says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish, and your patience possess ye your souls. You see? So we just have to keep the faith, man. You keep the faith, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. Even if it means death, you'll be all right. Why? Because the Lord said, fear not him that could kill the body, but fear him that could kill the body and the soul. See? So what Esau does, the boogeyman, ain't nobody. He ain't shit. Okay? That nigga's just talking out his ass, right? And even if he comes to destroy and try to kill us, all right, we know that it's really not even Esau doing it. It's really Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And this might be for us to pay for something that we did, you know, whatever it is, but we're going to take it cheerfully, right? As the scriptures tell you in Matthew 5, and let's take it from 10. And it says, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake,
For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. You see? So they did the same thing in the ancient world to us, man. And the spirit of the prophet is subject onto the prophet. So these things were happening to us in the ancient time. It's nothing new under the sun. All right. Just in a different time, different era. You see? So these are things that we have to expect. All right. At the end of the day, Ezekiel 21:10, it is sharpened. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth and contempt at the rod of my son and every tree? He didn't put the rest of it. But yeah, that's what's, that's what's brewing up for our people, man. A sore slaughter. That's where you niggas gonna end up that didn't want to learn. You're gonna end up in these FEMA camps. And then the ones that knew about this word and chose to handle the word deceitfully. All right. Well, there's going to be a special judgment for you. You see, the Lord said you're going to be beaten with many stripes. So you're going to be tortured out here, man. You are the ones that are going to be truly tortured in these FEMA camps, man, with special deaths. All right. From Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. Shalom Mak Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. Brother Judah. All right. And it says Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Hamashiach, who strengthens me. Yeah, we're going to be able to conquer these things because we have Yahweh Bashem Yahushua with us. 2nd Ezra 2:46. Then I said unto the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? Yeah, it is the ones that stood stiffly for the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua all the way until death. All right, Matthew 10:21, and it says, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. Yeah, so these are things that we're gonna have to face, man. You're gonna have to see your own pops or your own mother or your own brother, right, and your own sister, turn against you and say, there goes that guy y'all looking for. Put him to death. Did they not do that to Yahweh Shai? Yahweh Shai came to his own and they believed him not. Our own people gave up Yahweh Shai over Barabbas. They chose a murderer over Yahweh Shai, man. The power of all things, the creator of all things, man. And the servant is no greater than his master. So it has to happen to us too. You see? That's right. Shalom, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Barakatah, sis. All right, shalom, brother Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Barakatah. Brother from Levi. All right. This is 2nd Ezra 2:46. It says, then said unto the angel, what young persons, oh yeah, we just read that. So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of Man of Yahweh, whom they have confessed in the world. And they began greatly to commend them that stood stiffly for the name of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Yeah, so we ain't gonna worry about it, man. We're gonna have a crown waiting for us, man. If it means death in a damn FEMA camp, you see? If it means that we got to be put to death for Yahweh Shai's sake, then that's what it is, man. To be put to death for Yahweh Shai's sake is to live, you see? But to live in this world is really to be put to death by Yahweh Shai, you see? So we're not worried about it, man. We're men of valor, okay? We're men, all right, that are austere and prepared to die. Warriors, man. You see, warriors in the ancient time were prepared to die. They didn't care about what the fuck was gonna go down, man. They just went and did it because that was the task, that was the mission. You see, and this is what's commanded of us, that we present our bodies as a living sacrifice. You see, so like I said, man, to live in this world is really to be put to death by Yahweh Shai. All right, but to die for Yahweh Shai's sake is to live in Yahweh Shai, man. So we're gonna live. We're going to be the first fruits of the kingdom. We're going to get to enjoy all the benefits that the Lord has for us, man, at the end of the day, man. And that's what you want. That's the only thing that matters. That's setting your affections on the things above, you see. So, Lord willing, y'all will edify. I'm leaving there through the spirit. So with that being said, Salaki, it took a little long, bringing out these little, these little articles and all that. you know, back and forth. I'm just like that when I talk. I talk too much. It is what it is, though. But Lord willing, y'all will edify. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloim La, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bachakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad. The Akim and the Akwat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing, that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith. Shabbat Shalom. All right. Pretty soon, we almost up out of here. Baba Ball. All right. Keep the faith. Keep the good fight. All right. And continue to pray that Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai give you the spirit to endure all the way to the end, as always. Shalom. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah. On to you all.